I think more agents now are concerned with being an influencer instead of being a professional salesperson. When I got into the business, I said, whatever I have to do, I'm doing it. If my broker says, go fight that bull right now and grab it by the horns, well, fuck it. What people don't get is when you're at companies like EXP, Real, you make revenue share. I had a huge network when I was at EXP. I was making over $500,000 a year in rev share.
Dude, what I love about our podcast is we get to find the real ones like the guy that is on this podcast. So here's what I say about Bryan. Get a pen, take some notes. This guy's going to walk you through how he has built an entire nationwide brokerage within a brokerage and some of the principles that he's used to build that. So, and the cool thing about Bryan is you and I have both been able to watch him for a long time, like a couple decades. Dude, you can't fake it for decades. Like, it's amazing what he's been able to deliver. And he is not for everyone, but he's for a lot of people. It's freaking, it's incredible. What was your biggest takeaway?
I think my takeaway is it's the same thing. And that's what he preaches. Get up, do the work, get up, do the work, get up and do the work. And so I think he's done a great job of documenting that. So where he can prove his theory before people even question him. Because a lot of people preach that, but they don't have the sales to back it. Well, he's been doing that in different markets, in different cities, in different states. And the way that he has kind of structured his business and the way that he attacks it, anybody can be successful if they want to follow the process and follow the plan. And I think that's what he does. He gives them a process, he gives them a plan, he holds them accountable, and they have nothing else but to succeed or walk away. And that's what I like about him.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to ramp up your individual business or you want to see how to ramp up your team's business, like pay attention, take some notes, and let's rock and roll.
Cool.
Hey, hold on. Before we get back to the episode, make sure you like and follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It means the world to us. And don't forget to turn on that little notification bell so that you get alert every single time we drop a new episode. If you want to really go hardcore, go binge some of our past episodes, and please leave a 5-star review. All right, back to the episode.
Welcome back to Real Estate Untucked podcast. Today, we're joined by the infamous Bryan Casella, one of the most influential real estate educators in the industry. That is a big title. Bryan's the founder of Team BC nationwide and a best-selling author, the creator of Door-to-Door Mastery 101 and Listing Presentation Mastery. That gets me excited right there. I love listings. With over 30,000 hours of coaching experience, Bryan has helped countless agents transform their businesses and lives. This is really professional lead in here. Today, we're diving into Bryan's approach to sales mastery, personal discipline, and how he teaches agents to achieve success in business and life through personal mastery and accountability. So let's get started. And first off, I was watching you on Instagram the other day or whatever it was, doing some sick ass pull-ups, like legs in the air. Like, I was like, man, I can't even do that if I was falling off with them, let alone do it pulling up to them. So not only is that, but he's fit as hell too. So thanks for being here, man.
Appreciate you guys, man. Yeah, it's been interesting, dude, how everything has evolved from starting into real estate to then going nationwide with the team. Some of the situations that we were talking about before we went live, transitioning my team from, EXP to Real. I work with a developer now here in South Florida. I just yesterday actually shot something for like this TV documentary that we're going to release here in a couple months. That was really, really cool. But we've been moving and grooving, man. And it's been interesting to see everything evolve, because when I first came out, it was just about kind of sharing my journey. And then so many people attached to it, liked it. And that's when it kind of morphed into coaching and training and building the team and all that fun stuff.
So that's a good way to start. So you went into coaching kind of not by accident, but like you weren't really thinking about it, but people kind of reaching out to you and say, hey, help me share, help me figure it out. And you just kind of led that way. Is that a good way of explaining it?
Yeah, pretty much, man. Because like when I got into doing stuff on social media, I had always put out content on social media because I saw how impactful it was. Like even back in 2013, when I got into the business, when I would send people, voice notes and videos, I noticed the response, right? Whether it was, a personal message to somebody or an actual follow-up with a client. And I just noticed how people were watching. I'd walk into the office being a brand new agent and some of the veteran agents are like putting my videos on their desktop and I'm seeing it. I'm like, dude, why is this guy watching me? Like I'm the new kid on the block,
Yeah.
But I noticed, okay, this thing has an effect. So I jumped on it. And even though I wasn't hardcore in the beginning, I did a pretty good job of consistently just documenting what I was doing. And as my following started growing, it was just requests. And it started with initially making that door-to-door mastery product, because right when I released it, Inman News featured it, did an interview with me and pushed it out. And I think when I released it, that first 30 days, I sold like a couple hundred copies of it. without even trying. And I'm like, dude, people really want this stuff. Like, they're like, oh man, this is great. This is amazing. So people just start, hitting me up on Instagram and YouTube. Hey man, do you coach? Do you help? I need help. And I don't know, maybe I was naive because I was out there, working my ass off every day, and I was slowly starting to figure it out. And I thought everybody was just like me, right? Or was willing to put in that type of work. But it came by demand. After the 100th person asked, I said, I might as well offer it or do something for people here.
That's awesome. Let's talk about that. How hard was it to write these books? A lot of people want to write books, and Wayne, you've done it too. So I guess it's a question for both of you. How hard is it to create product and a book, either at the same time or not, but to make sure you're getting out there what you actually want? Does it take a ton of time like most people think, or is it just you just do it over time? It's a really random ass question, but is it hard or is it not hard?
No. It's a good question, man. And really, I would say the bulk of what I've done has been more like video like this. And it's really raw. Like if you were to get any of those products, besides one, because I had that door-to-door mastery product, I had a good friend of mine who was an up-and-coming video editor. I collab with him and I said, hey man, this would be a great opportunity for you to get started, get something on your resume, and then we can just split the profit. I'll give you a percentage of every sale up until, the first 100 sales. So he made some good money off of it. But I would say this, when it comes to the video product, literally a lot of the things that I created initially were just observing things and then saying, oh, that would be a good thing because people don't understand this. Like I remember having two good friends of mine fighting and bickering all the time. And I made like 3 or 4 communication products just off observing them interact with each other and piss each other off. And I started pointing out what they were doing wrong. And I made stuff and people loved it, right? Because it was more just me observing and then sharing with people some of the things that I was kind of analyzing. That's how it started. Now with the writing of the books, I always took the approach of when I'm inspired to write, I'm going to write. Right? Because I've only really released 1 book and I'm working on 2 or 3 more, but that was more of like a passion project. And hey, if I'm feeling it today for 30 minutes, I'm going to write, then I'll put it down, right? I wouldn't just sit there and force myself. It was more of a slowly put it together and put some, effort into it every day. But I think myself and the way I'm kind of wired now, I'm always looking to progress and do stuff like that. So every single day I'm chipping away at all those tasks. And because again, it's passion and it's just me kind of creating it with just the will to create. I'm not thinking about money. Doing the video and book stuff has always been easy and it's just been kind of automatic for me. It doesn't take a lot of preparation. It's more just me turning on the camera and talking or putting pen to paper and then getting it done.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I think for you, Bryan, how much of it has been fake? And what I mean by that is it's easy to do when it's you. So I think one of the things that separates you from a lot of others out there is you're just talking about what you're doing and who you are. You're not trying to pretend to be something you're not and sell a product. And I think that's one of the differences. You're just here's what I'm doing, but it's what you were actually freaking doing. What you thought you were supposed to tell people to do. And I think that's been, I'm guessing, and I want your feedback in this, but that's been my take on it, right? You're just taking them on the journey you're actually doing and you just pressed record. You weren't pretending to be somebody you're not so you could sell a bunch of CDs. And I just said CDs like we're in the 1940s.
But, right. No, I'm with you, bro. I missed the CD. No, you're right, dude. You're right. And that's a point that I drill into people. Right. I'm like, why are you guys trying to pretend? Because I get it. Right. Everyone, I tell people, look at people's emails. Every realtor is number 1, top 1%. It's right. Then who's in the other 90, 95% if everybody's in the top 1%? And I kind of tease people because there's this. And I think it's just in our culture now. Everyone's seeking validation and just wants to be seen as hot shit or the hot shot. I don't know why. I had no problem turning the camera on and saying, hey, I'm a stone cold rookie, but I'm going to go out and hit some doors today. I'll report back to you guys in about an hour to let you know my results. And that's all it really was. And I took people on that journey. And I think that's why they really identified it or identified with it, because there was no exaggeration. There was no fake. Just like you said, as I was studying and learning, I was giving stuff to the audience as I was just going through the motions and step 1, step 2, step 3. I was sharing it with people. And as I evolved, I shared that as well. And I think that authenticity is really missing from a lot of people. And I think it stems from, lack of confidence, the fear of judgment and criticism and all that, which you're not going to escape anyway. Right. But I think it's really rooted in that. And people are really afraid to almost in a way be vulnerable and just say, hey, I'm the rookie right now. I suck, but follow me because in 2 or 3 years, I'm not going to be the rookie anymore. But nobody wants to be the rookie. They just want to fast forward and say, hey, I'm the expert in the $2,000 suit. Buy my stuff. But I think the main thing, Wayne, is other people solely get into it for money. I never did. Sure, I make money online and all that, but it never started from that. And that's not the basis for my creation of content. It's not 100% money driven. And I think that's the main difference. And now that AI has come out and the market's been so saturated with people, I think that line is a lot more distinguishable to people. They can look at me or someone else and say, okay, this dude, he's in it for the money. This guy's not. Maybe before, because there wasn't as many people, that line was a little bit more blurry, but now I think it's a clear line in the sand and people are really starting to see the difference.
No doubt. So it's kind of a two-part question. So one, explain, if you're in your words, what Team BC is and how you're kind of set up. And then I'm curious how your online presence and your mastery programs maybe have helped you recruit people and agents into it. So that's my two questions.
Yeah. So Team BC started in Southern California when I started making my team. And I remember, because I have them in my closet, I still kept a lot of my old journals. Back in 2015, I was already journaling, Team BC will be a nationwide real estate team. Right. And in 2020, I think it was 3 months after the shutdowns, we shut down February, March of 2020, when they just shut the world down. In June, I rolled out nationwide. Right. Wow. And how that ties in with what you asked is the initial pool of recruitment was in my coaching program. I said, hey, TBC is going nationwide. Obviously, you guys are already in here in my ecosystem. Who's interested? So I immediately grabbed, I think it was like 10 or 12 people right away from my coaching program. Right. From there, we do a tour. And I start hitting like Florida, New York, New Jersey, Texas, Arizona. And after that first initial tour of 6 or 7 states, it's like, boom, we're in 6 or 7 states. We got like 25, 30 members and we're rocking and rolling. And that was always the vision for me, was to have a nationwide real estate team based on the classic sales principles that I built my business on. And I treat them like family, right? We do in-person masterminds twice a year. And it's really what I took that I believe is different is I have a holistic approach, whether it's coaching or the team. Yeah, I want to help people make money and grow their business, but it's a personal development, becoming a better person, a better communicator, becoming more confident, and really just an overall mastery of life versus just being money hungry and money driven, which I think a lot of people are getting caught up in that right now. And I think that's why, generally speaking, you see so many people upset, depressed, unfulfilled. Like, what's the statistic right now? Like 1 out of 4 or 5 people's on some kind of psych med. I mean, it's insane. It's
crazy.
So, the average psyche of the human being out there is not getting better. It's getting worse. But I look at just overall, again, taking a step back objectively, people are being a lot more just shiny object. I need attention, and very shallow. You know what I mean? So I took that approach with the team because I said, look, a lot of these people coming into my team, regardless of where they're from or their background, their beginnings are like mine. Right? Where you look around and maybe you have a desire to grow, change, different career path, make money, and go for something that maybe no one in your family ever went for. And that's tough because you have them not approving it. You have the whole world against you. The statistics are against you and you feel alone, and it's tough. And I didn't have that, coming up. I just had to do it with sheer grit and willpower. Now with what I provide, I can give them a community and so much more support that it facilitates that change versus maybe them staying in their own environment by themselves. They wouldn't have been able to do it. So I take a lot of pride in that because I feel like that's a tremendous opportunity for people to grow and really go after what they want versus feeling constricted and feeling like, man, I'm on an island by myself because nobody believes what I believe in and wants to go after what I go after. Because I've been there, man, especially after, 2020 and that whole fiasco with me getting canceled. It got so bad that even for a minute, I thought maybe I was crazy. I said, man, am I delusional? Right? Like maybe I'm wrong, right? Because it got to the point where so many bad things were happening. I was like, wait, I even started questioning myself, and I never kind of convinced myself that I was wrong because I was like, okay, look, I'm really standing on truth here. It's just, that's not popular right now, right? Like they don't want to push that. They want to push this certain agenda, but I can understand that feeling and that circumstance. And for a lot of people, they're not built for it yet. And that can break them. It's no different than bullying. Bullying can really hurt kids, if it goes too much to an extreme.
Yeah. So I'm curious, because you were pretty, from our conversation earlier, like you got your teeth kicked in back in 2020, and not to the same level, but a lot of agents feel like they get their teeth kicked in all the time. So what would you help like if you're talking to an agent right now about like, hey, I just got my shit kicked in. I'm not making the money I want. I'm not doing what I want. How would you coach them up?
Yeah, good question. This is a subject matter that comes up all the time, right? And I just say, okay, before we even get into specifics, I was like, let's just take a step back and look at the industry as a whole. What are some shifts that we've been seeing? Well, what I've noticed is the average agent now, let's say a newer agent or not too experienced agent, most people's mindset now is, again, you guys can correct me if I'm crazy here. I think more agents now are concerned with being an influencer instead of being a professional salesperson.
Yeah.
That's a big one. So like when I talk to a new agent, especially if they're younger, maybe 10, 15, 20 years younger than me, I just listen to them and the way they're talking about the business, I'm like, this kid has no idea what he's getting into. He's like, oh, I'm going to play dress up and do these TikTok videos and do this. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, kid? Like, are you kidding me? Like that stuff is cool. Right. You can supplement your business with that, but how are your communication skills? Oh, I'm a social introvert and I have social anxiety and this and that. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but we have to tackle that first,
right?
Because you're going to have to meet with a buyer, meet with the seller, meet with an investor, get a contract signed, have a conversation, and deal with people, right? You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to master dealing with people. So, what's the statistic now? 74% of agents didn't sell a house last year.
Yeah,
year before that,
that's what I've been hearing.
Yeah, year before that, 49%, right? So it's been getting worse, but I'm just generally speaking, I would make sure that that agent is really tuning into traditional business principles and sees social media and all this hype as maybe a cherry on top, a bonus, something they'll add later, but we got to build your business up the right way. I say the word systems to people and they look at me like I'm speaking a different language, right? I'm like, so, what do you do every day? And I don't even get a clear answer. People don't even have a schedule. People don't even have a business plan. And I'm like, fellas, look at today compared to like I got in the business in 2013. You could have just go on YouTube and find what you find now.
Right.
The amount of information, even on the traditional stuff, is so readily abundant for people to get started. Right. So it's not that there's a lack of information. There's a lack of understanding and implementation here. So I look back, the failure rate was lower when there was less access to this information for free than it is now. So again, on paper, it doesn't make sense, but people are being led astray. I snap screenshots all the time of these like predatory ads I get on Instagram and YouTube. It is fucking insane, this type of stuff that they say. And I sit there, I'm like, how are these people not in jail?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the promises they make to people, but I get it because they're preying on the most susceptible thing of human beings, hope. That, it could be, well, I listen to Bryan and he preaches hard work, forget that. I want to go with this ad because it said I can sit at home and work 3 hours a week and make $300,000. And I'm just like, so, before we get into the technical side of it, I really just need to make sure people have their head on straight and they're focused on the right things because the biggest enemy today, I believe overall, is just distraction.
Amen. Yeah. It's funny because I like to ask new people when they interview with us, go, where do you think your business is coming from? And the size of their eyes when they go, you? Like, sure, maybe, but like, where did you just thought you're going to open up doors for like random people? Like, where are we going to find the people? And it's just amazing how much people don't think through even getting into the business and what it would look like. So yeah, those are great points right there. Real great points.
So for you, what is the technical pieces you think the agents need right now? Like in your coaching, everything you're doing, what are some of the psychological, practices, edge? Like what's the edge you give the guys you coach to go get the listing, to go get the buyer?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot, right? Like the first question I ask people if they talk to me about real estate or sales, my first question is, how many people are you talking to every day?
Absolutely.
How many conversations are you having every day?
This is the soapbox. Like go fucking talk to 100 people a day and you're going to win.
But I can't find 100 people, Wayne.
Hopefully get better. Like hopefully get better. But I love that you just said, because like go talk to people. Like, let's just start there, do that. And then like, you can't talk to 100 people and 100 people say no every day. Like you can be an idiot. Somebody's going to say yes. Just do that. Yeah.
And, and again, when I do this stuff, you guys have been in the business, right? Like this isn't your first rodeo. It's obvious to us, but I understand that the big barrier to that is the perception of what comes with that. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the social issues, right? So like with my coaching and training, one of the initial sections outside of the introductory modules that I take people through, I have a section called Close the Deal, which is like 100% a breakdown, a lecture series on like the basic sales skills, human psychology, how to get over social anxiety. And I always bring those rookies or new people that might deal with that or have internal issues up here. I'm like, dude, your homework is to go through one lecture every day and start implementing immediately. And the changes these people make in 30, 60 days is just, sometimes I sit there like, wow, I wish I could have changed that quick when I was going through this, right? but I created that as I was going through that process. So a lot of the things that I was talking about, people can relate to because it's not me today teaching that. I reiterate it now, but it's me, 8, 9, 10 years ago going through it, documenting it and telling them step by step what I was doing. Because once you remove that barrier and people don't deal with social anxiety and all these, I don't even know the buzzwords nowadays, guys, because I see all these marketing terms and I'm just like, God, people prescribe themselves as lunatics for no reason because somebody said it on YouTube, right?
I got one for you real quick. I got told by one of my younger agents the other day, he was just sharing what's going on in his life. And he goes, sorry for trauma dumping on you. I was like, trauma dumping? What the hell is trauma? I'm getting old. I'm 41, right? So I had to look it up. It was just saying unload on you, like just confide in you. I trauma dumped on you. That's how extreme it's getting. Sorry. I just wanted to add that. I thought it was funny as shit.
No, you're right. Because people say a term like, what the hell does that even mean? You know what I mean? Like, because again, I'm right there with you guys, right? But once I remove that from people, then the action becomes easy. Why don't people pick up the phone or go door to door or, like Wayne said, just have conversations? Well, there's a fear. You remove that fear, block, issue, subconscious identity issue, whatever it is. Now they'll do it willingly and just have to go through the process of getting better. The better you get, the better results that you get. And that's really the initial focus for people. But I always, before I bring somebody in, right, because I don't just like take anybody, right? I say, look, are you willing to go through that process? Because it takes time and you're not going to be comfortable. And if you're not willing to put yourself through that, I don't want your money. I don't want your time, because you got to participate and you got to get it done. And a lot of people haven't made that decision and made that commitment. When I got into the business, I said, whatever I have to do, I'm doing it. If my broker says, go fight that bull right now and grab it by the horns, well, fuck it. Let's go, right? I'm going to do what I need to do. And a lot of people, I believe, because they watch the TV shows and they have this particular image and idea and vision of real estate, when they get in and get slapped with reality, they're like, oh, I had no idea. And going back to the beginning, I think that's why people really vibed with what I was talking about, because when I initially came out on YouTube in 2013 and 14, I gave people that insight into what it was compared to what they saw on reality TV. They're like, dude, this kid's out here banging on doors and making calls. I didn't know real estate was that. I just thought you showed up in a fancy suit, got a phone call, and negotiated $1,000 commission because these guys in Beverly Hills are doing it, right? And I'm over here sweating, banging on doors, making calls, waking up at 5 a.m., going to the gym, journaling, reading, working 14 hours a day. And people are like, wait, that's real estate? That doesn't make any sense. But when people really see that, then I think that's what separates the people who really want to do it versus the people who said, hey, well, I don't know what I'm signing up for here. Never mind.
Yeah, no doubt.
How much of it, I got two questions, but the first one is like, dude, how much of it is identity? Like, how much of it is helping them get clear and rewire their identity at the end of the day?
Most of it. Right? Most of it. Because if that isn't handled and I don't have a solid foundation, we can't build off of it. Because then step one, there's going to be an excuse. Well, I can't do it. I don't feel like it. I'm not motivated. All the surface level stuff people deal with. This is too hard. You need to hold my hand, right? Well, I don't talk to strangers. That's not me. I didn't grow up doing that. I don't know how to do it. You were born a good speaker. I'm not, right? I've heard it all. Right? Well, your hair is short, so you can do it better than me. You're more aerodynamic when you go door to door. I've heard it all, dude, right? I would say 70, 80% of it is that. But this is the interesting thing, Wayne. When I say that to people, they think it's bullshit. Well, that's hocus pocus, this and that. I'm like, man, you have no idea. Because as they start going through the lectures and we interact more and they go through the trainings, they're like, holy shit, you're bringing up so many things I wasn't even aware of. Exactly.
Absolutely. Yes.
Because if you're not aware of it, then how are you going to know? Right.
And that's the key, is like bringing into awareness, because awareness in and of itself is transformational. Like bringing it into the awareness is what's so huge. Because then when you're coaching somebody, you're and this is my guess, but like when you're coaching someone, it's like, I want you to be this person you're not, or like, dude, this isn't you. You're someone who said you were going to do what you do. That's who you are. Like, stop being this other person you're not. Get back in alignment with who you are. You said, and that's the difference, right? That's how it plays out. So like you said, if you don't have a freaking foundation, we can't go anywhere. Yeah.
And it's kind of silly reference, but it's like the 40-year-old virgin. They're like, dude, what you're used to, I mean, that what you are and what you do, again, it's not comfortable, but it doesn't work. You got to change it, right? And I always laugh at that part in the movie because it's hilarious, but I always relate it back to what you said. It's like, well, that's true. Dude has been living a certain way. It's not getting him the result that he wants. He's not happy. Something's got to change. But he's resisting it the whole time. Oh, it's not comfortable. It doesn't feel like me. Exactly. Because being you doesn't work. You have to change it. But that goes back to what I said. I tell people, you have no idea what you're signing up for here. I need to know that you're committed and willing to go through the uncertainty and the risk of being uncomfortable. If you're not,
Yes.
please come back when you're ready. Don't do it now, because I don't want you to come in and then bail out, because we'll give you a swift kick in the ass out the door. Right.
Absolutely.
And again, that's intense to a lot of people. But I say, look, if you want transformation and that type of result, you're going to have to go through something intense. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah. Do you have a vetting system when you're first talking to agents, like whether it's certain words or certain things, to make sure that they truly have that mentality? Because a lot of people look good on paper and say what you want to hear.
Yeah. When it comes with the team and even the coaching, I have an application process. I'll meet with them on Zoom. Sometimes it's more than one meeting if I'm not like totally convinced, but 100%, because again, a lot of people talk the talk, right? I've heard it all. Even when I first opened up my team in Southern California, I had a line outside of the door for people that wanted to join. But after going through 30 interviews, I think I brought on like 2 people.
Yeah.
Right. And then one out of those 2 initially worked out because the other one quit. One of them ended up being a great agent for me and he completely transformed, but he took the blueprint and ran with it 100%. Like so much so that this kid came to me, total geek nerd, right? Kevin, right? If he watches this, shout out to Kevin, right? Totally different man now, right? Social butterfly, cool dude, tells stories, life of the party, right? But back then he was so socially awkward and like scared. I would take him to lunch. And dude, wherever we went to lunch, if I saw women, I said, go approach them and go talk to them. He's like, what do I say? I'm like, just go. Because that was a test of mine. And I was like, and if this kid doesn't do it or make excuses, I'm kicking him off the team. I don't care if he goes and he crashes and he burns. I want him to know that you got to go. And I want that response to be okay. And then come back and say, okay, who else? Even if he feels uncomfortable. And he did it. He did it. And again, he thanks me to this day. He's like, dude, I'm so glad you did that because it really opened up my eyes. I would never have done that unless I came under your tutelage and did those types of things. Same thing with me. I've done improv twice, right? In a comedy club. I'm not a fucking comedian. I was horrible the first time, but I knew for me, it would be extremely uncomfortable to do it. And I wanted to break that barrier. So if you embody that type of thought process and dedication to what you do, you're going to be great. But again, you got to have that willingness and desire to do it. And I think that's what a lot of people haven't tapped into.
Here's my question. Okay. First question is, what was the was there a moment that someone whapped you up that like, was there a moment you had a big mindset change that came from something else? Like what's one of the 2 like things that people like awareness you had in your life that were life changing? Either somebody said something or you saw something, like what were one or 2 of those big ones?
Yeah, great question, Wayne. I think for me, there's been many, but one of them was, and this is something that a lot of people deal with, right? We all innately fear judgment, criticism, and that kind of stuff, right? And I noticed that was holding me back from being fully confident just in my everyday life, but especially online. I would ask myself, I'm like, why am I holding back? So there was a clear moment where it clicked for me. And this was just like purely logical. I remember I posted something online. I guess one of my family friends reached out to my mom complaining, right? So my mom hits me up and, hey, like you posted this thing on Facebook. I'm like, wait, where's this coming from? She's like, oh, Jenny hit me up and, she said this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, fuck Jenny. Like, I don't care about her. You know what I mean? Like, why are you concerned? And then it came out. She said, well, I don't want her bugging me about it. So could you like take the post down? And like I paused for like 20 seconds. My mom's like, are you there? And I realized I was like, oh man, my mom doesn't even care about the post. She cared that somebody was bugging her. Meaning a lot of times when these people mess with you when it comes to this criticism and judgment, it's not even that they care about what you're saying. It's how it affects them.
Yes.
Right? Now that might not apply to every scenario, but I said, oh my God, how did I not realize this before? And then the funny thing, Wayne, is after that, I kind of went a little extreme. Right? It was like a lion broke out of the cage and I had my little overly rebellious moment where I'm doing dumb shit like checking into strip clubs and all kinds of stuff just to like throw it in people's face like, hey, I'm going to do what I want. Then I finally like normalized, right? But I always tell people that was one of the most liberating moments for me from a mindset standpoint because I truly said, okay, now I honestly, wholeheartedly do not care what people think or what they're going to say. Right? Like my elders, my coaches, 100%. I tap into them and I care about what they have to say. But yeah, I've granted those people the authority to have that opinion. I'm not just going to take it from anybody. Right?
And that's the maturity, right? Immaturity is either fuck everybody or I'm going to listen to anything from everybody. Maturity is like, hey, these are the 3 people I'm listening to, right? I'm listening to people that I'm paying, right? I'm listening to my close inner circle, whatever, but like I'm choosing who I listen to and I don't have to listen to everybody. So I think that's one of those maturity pieces where you make that, it's a decision. Like, don't give a rip what these people are. These people, I listen, but I take it with a grain of salt. These people, like I listen to that like it's coming from a mountain. So, and I think that's a big line. Most people have not intentionally chosen those voices, and they're just kind of letting a bunch of haphazard shit get in here, there, and everywhere. And it's very, very dangerous when you let it happen that way.
100%.
Dude, for you, all right, this is Untucked. So I want to know the biggest mistake. What's the biggest fuck up so far?
Man, where do we start?
That's my favorite answer, by the way. That's my favorite answer, because most people do. Most people are like, oh, let me see if I have one. Right. So that's, by the way, that's my favorite answer so far. So yeah, you're on par.
There's a lot, right? I'll say this, right? And this all came along when, okay, so just to get people caught up, back in 2020, I got heavily like demonetized, censored, whatever you want to call it, canceled, Facebook deleted like really bad. In 2022, I changed from EXP to Real. I moved my team from EXP to Real. And it wasn't that move where I made the mistake. It was how I went about it that I think was the biggest mistake, because out of just anger towards the company wanting to censor me and me just leaving because of it. Because I stood on principle. And what people don't get is when you're at companies like EXP, Real, you make revenue share. I had a huge network when I was at EXP. I was making over $500,000 a year in rev share, just deposited into my account, right? And I told people when I left, I said, all you people that doubted me, I just walked away on principle. Because if I showed you guys the DMs that I got from people saying, oh man, I agree with you, I want to leave too, but I'm making X amount of money, I can't leave. I'm like, there you go. That's the difference between me and you. You sold out for X amount of money. I won't. And I said, a lot of you have been hearing me talk about that, right? Now you see for a fact that I stand on that principle and I stand by my word and I live by that code, versus other people don't. Now, I never outed those people because I don't need to, but that's one side of it, right? But I was upset, and because of that, I made that move a little bit too quickly, and I left a lot of loose ends. And for a while, that kind of fractured my team, because when we moved, a few of the states that I had key leadership in weren't open yet with Real. So they were in the limbo. I lost like probably 20-25% of my team, a lot of which were leadership. And, it was rocky for a minute, man. And it took me a while to recover. Obviously, it made some of those team members upset because they had the feeling that, hey, like, you never really consulted with me. It just seemed like a rash decision. And looking back on it, it was. But that was just my mistake and my immaturity of being upset, because I had already, again, heard it and seen it from everybody with this whole cancel culture shit. So the final straw that broke the camel's back was my real estate company trying to censor me. I was like, dude, this is bullshit, right? So that's where I kind of was immature and got a little bit in my emotions. And I made that move a little bit too quick. And it was more emotional versus logical, and with that proper kind of setup. You know what I mean? So I would say, especially in the last 5 years, that was the biggest mistake that I've made, for sure.
And thanks for being transparent on that. And I think that that's very true. It's like the right thing and the right way. And we see it all the time. People do the quote unquote right thing, but they go about it the wrong way, or just with that lack of maturity. And they end up paying a price that's higher, or they look back, they're like, man, I don't like that was my first divorce. I'm glad I'm not married to her anymore. And I wish I could go back and do it different. I wish I could have left that or done that differently, which is top of mind, because we literally talked about it this morning. But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Yeah.
And I've had personal conversations with all the members, whether they're still with us or not. And I apologize to them because I had to, and they really appreciated that. And, there's really no bad blood between me and a lot of those members, whether they supported the decision or not. But I had to own up to the mistake and say, hey, in that moment, I failed you as a leader, and I have to own up to it,
So talk about a national team. I mean, you're at a great place. Real, EXP, all those places are set up so you can have that. What have been some of the biggest lessons you've learned from that and growing it, or anything you're willing to share? Because a lot of people probably want to mimic what you're doing.
Yeah, I've learned a lot, man. One of the first things I learned is being a great salesperson and a leader are two completely different skill sets. And I think a lot of people who are good, who are good or great at sales, they don't understand that leadership is a completely different ballgame, right? Number one. Number two is, when you do something of that caliber, scope, that's that big, you really have to be methodical and look at it from the perspective of, how can I make this like a no-brainer for people? So when I looked at the team model, I basically looked at a lot of the flaws in it and wanted to remedy them. And most importantly, I know as a leader, and you hear this all the time, right? But in implementation, the culture, right? If your team is like a family and the culture is top notch, that's one of the easiest ways to keep people long term, because they know, hey, I would rather almost pass away than walk away from this. You know what I mean? And that's the type of relationships that I have within the people in the team. And they just love it, right? I get messages from them all the time. And that's really what I focused on. And I kind of knew that in the beginning, but after about 6 months or a year with the team, I really realized the importance and magnitude of that, right? In addition to that, I think a lot of people also do not understand that I have to hold myself to a higher standard than I hold anybody else. And a lot of people, I think, look at a team, and this isn't everybody, but I think a lot of people look at it this way. They think of it as just like a cash machine where they can just kind of be sipping margaritas on the beach, doing whatever they want. And all these peons are going to work for me. It's like, dude, you can't do that. Right. So I know I need to show up earlier and often and later than my team. I need to put in more work than them and really be the representative and embodiment of these principles that I'm really pushing on them and teaching them. And I think that higher level of accountability, a lot of people aren't ready for, but at the same time, I know that's how people can confide and trust in my leadership, helping them, especially for people who are in other states, maybe in California or Arizona, now that I'm in Florida and they're far away, but they would rather be with me than maybe with some local team that might be local or where they can go into an office, So those are just some of the things. There's a million, but I would say those are some of the fundamental ones for sure.
So how did you do that? So you had some key principles, and then what are some of the things you did strategically to help with that? Zoom calls, phone calls, you're flying all over the place, you're sending everybody cupcakes. Like, what did you actually do?
Yeah. So when I created the structure of the team, I said, okay, whether somebody's new or not, if I can provide structure and give people a pretty easy path to follow, I know they're really going to tap in with it. Because back then when I started, it was primarily new agents who were contacting me, newer, right? 1 or 2 years in the business or less. So the way that I set it up is everything is tied in with my coaching and training platform. So people are getting accountability calls, lectures. They're getting basically my whole real estate system that I use to build my team and everything from the ground up, from like the marketing, the schedule. So it's almost like a plug and play for them, and they just have to participate and be along for the ride. But they're doing Zoom calls, accountability calls. And I would say in the span of a week, people on the team are seeing me face to face, whether in Zoom or here in person if they're local, an average of 5 times a week.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, and again, the way I see it that way is like, dude, if I provide the structure and someone taps in and participates 100%, they're going to be successful. And this is why we have new agents come in and sell, 10, 12, 15, 20 houses their first year and start making money. It's because they have the structure. You know what I mean? But because I had already created something and tapped them into it, it was very easy for me to be methodical and say, Monday, we're doing this, Tuesday, we're doing this, Wednesday, we're doing that. And the way I spread out the leadership too is we're regional and then we're by state. And every state and region has its particular leadership. So they have their own little mini teams within the team, and they all have their own separate accountability with that, team member and regional member as well. So it comes from the top, but it also comes locally for them as well. So we're on top of the thing like 100%. We're meticulous. We track all our numbers, team wide. And that's really the structure I think that people need down to the detail, because we know what they're doing, right? And we can help them, and they show up. And if people don't start showing up, we're pretty strict about, hey, these are the requirements to be on the team. And if you're not fulfilling them, then you got to go.
What are the requirements?
So initially it was people had to be full-time. You had to be a full-time agent. You had to be willing to commit to everything. So they would get a full schedule, like the 2 masterminds a year, what they're going to be doing on a daily basis. And that's why I kind of made it a requirement for them to be full-time, because if somebody came in and wanted to be part-time for good, it's like, it's not going to work, because you're not going to be able to make the money, but you can't participate in all the stuff that we're doing. They obviously would have to join our company, be under our team, agree to all the splits and everything that we had, and be super accountable, right? Because they agree, hey, if I mix X amount of sessions, like I'm automatically off the team, right? And aside from that, in the beginning, I was a little bit more loose with like a production requirement, because I said, man, I remember even for me, it took me a while to get momentum going. So I left that on a case by case basis with my regional leaders. And I said, look, if you have somebody come in and they're not making the sales, because ideally our whole goal is if you come in as a new agent, by the end of your first year, we want you to sell at least 12 houses. That's one a month, right? Which I think you can do if you're tapped into the right system and working hard, right? Sure. So if somebody's behind that and not on track, I have them on a case-by-case basis, check them out. And I say, look, if they're checking all the boxes and they're putting in the effort, they have a good attitude and they're showing up, give them some leniency, right? But eventually after a year and a half, we'll hit, as agents start graduating, kind of like a minimum commitment for them to do transaction wise. And then from within the structure too, the more homes you sell, the less that we keep and the more of your money that you keep. And then we have the opportunity for people to graduate. Right. So now I've expanded the team into multiple divisions. So now that I'm working with a developer and we're going to get more projects in the future, something I've done with the team is, hey, I'm going to take the top percentile of the team, and I'm going to start assigning some of these development projects to them, right? So I'm doing 2 in Georgia right now, one that's 129 units and the other one that's like 150. I'm doing those on my own. But the whole thing is like a reward for the top agents. I'll get them in on these deals and either split them with me or have them do a whole project to their own, right? In conjunction with the developer as like a reward. Same thing with growth opportunities. I allow people to become leadership if they start producing at a high level. They can graduate to becoming a regional leader. They can form their own teams within our team because I have the structure for that. So it's really a reward and production-based system. So people come in and they flourish and they do well. They have the opportunity to go up. Because I noticed as a team model, that's why a lot of people left. They felt like, well, I'm capped out at this team. I need to be a buyer's agent or only do X, Y, Z. I need to leave to grow. So I said, well, let me take that out and give people unlimited growth opportunities. So why would they leave?
Absolutely.
So this is a little basic, but I'd love y'all's feedback because I'm going through this now because I've realized that like I've created the ideal week, the ideal month, the schedule, the training, but you've talked a lot about new agents and the accountability. So like, what would be an ideal day for a new agent that has the first year in the business? Like, what would you recommend or what do you require them to do on a daily basis?
Yeah. So for the most part, I put my agents on so let's say agent comes in, right? They get set up with us. It's day one with Team BC. I'm really and just to keep it more general, right? I look and say, okay, if you're going to do a schedule, let's say you're going to work from 8 a.m. to 5, right? We'll say that's their actual work schedule. My ideal schedule for them is wake up at least 2 hours before you start working at 8, right? Maybe a little bit earlier if you have to commute, to an office or a space that you're going to work at. And in that morning routine, I assign particular things to them. So I'm going to talk to that agent, and based on where they're at, I may assign different things to them. Some of them, I'm going to have them do some education in the morning, maybe work out, right? Depending on their situation. So there'll be some form of exercise, education, right? Training, role play in those first 2 hours. Right now, from 8 to 12, I'm going to designate for them a prospect. It might be a mix of doors and phones. It might just be doors. It might just be phones, but they're basically going to be on the horn for about 4 hours there. And most of the agents on the team are prospecting between 8 and 12, right? From 12 to 1, I'll give them a break and, they can go to lunch, hang out, whatever. I also split up their follow-up. They do a little bit early in the morning. They do a little bit right there around lunch, and they do a little bit in the evening, right? That's kind of what their schedule is split up in. In the afternoon, I'll have them in that 2-hour window between 1 and 3. I'll have them do some additional role play. And that's when I'll also assign for them to cover specific lecture material, or I'll point them, hey, watch lecture 53 on this section because you need help with this, right? This skill is going to help you when you're cold calling, right? So I'll assign for them to do something educational in the middle of the day too. Probably we said 1 to 3 was that, 3 to 6, I'm going to time slot that for appointments or additional prospecting. And then in the evening, I kind of let them do their thing. I give them recommended bedtime, but in the evening too, I recommend they get in at least another 30 minutes or hour of education. And again, depending on the agent, I'm going to recommend a book, a particular lecture, and that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty simple day. And once they get production going, then that starts to shift a little bit. But that's the basic kind of structure that I give them. It's a lot of education, role play, prospecting, talking to people.
I'm so glad you said role play, because that is one. It's I don't know when that stopped, but it seemed like when we were coming up, maybe just who we were hanging out with, but it seems like that was a big deal. And it seems like that's gone away. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like the role play and the practice piece is huge. Let me ask you this: what do you wish people ask you more?
And to comment on what you said, Wayne, take a look at the average person now. Their communication and sales skills suck. But let's call it like it is. They're terrible. They're terrible, right?
They can barely order at the drive-thru, let alone have a coherent conversation.
They don't even want to talk. They want to text. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What do I wish people would ask me? Honest questions. I feel like a lot of questions. And you guys tell me if you get a hint of this too. I get this a lot. I know, right? But I also get the feeling that when somebody asks me a question many times, they're looking for a particular answer to that question instead of in good faith asking me the question looking for a real answer. Like, hey, does cold calling still work?
So do you mean like they're looking to get the answer that they want? Or do you mean they don't even know what question they're actually wanting to ask?
No, they're looking for the answer that they want. They're looking for the answer that they want, right? Like maybe 2 or 3 people, maybe let's say they watch me and they really love what I have to say, but 3 or 4 other people said, oh man, prospecting doesn't work.
Yeah. But
they're like, wait, this guy, I like him and he says it. So then they come to me, but maybe those are his friends and he wants to believe them. He's like, hey, Bryan, does cold calling still work? It's like, motherfucker, I just made another video about it, giving you testimonials and results and giving you what do you think? I'm just saying that for the camera, then shutting it off and saying, man, these people are stupid listening to me, And
that's what most people are doing. That's actually what a lot of people are doing. So that's actually what's happening. All right. I got a couple rapid fire ones. What are you most grateful for right now?
Most grateful for, I would just say being alive, man. Life is beautiful. Life is great. You're going to have your up and downs, but appreciating just regular, typical day for me, I'm most grateful for.
Cold calling or door knocking? What's your weapon of choice?
Both, but door knocking if I had to pick.
Okay. What's your hype song right now?
Hype song? Ooh, an old school Eazy-E song. Any of them.
Oh, hey, I that may be what I'm doing this afternoon. Okay. I think I just booked my whole afternoon. All right. Book or experience to change your life.
Book or experience? Pitch Anything by Oren Clef.
So freaking good. Are we going to bring long hair back ever?
What's up?
Long hair ever? I mean,
The long hair. I don't know,
I
bro.
just feel like you could rock it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like I might again, but I have to get the itch because I told people, look, I'm going to let it grow. But the day that I just feel like, hey, I'm going to cut it, I'm going to cut it. And it was literally from one day to the other. I cut it off. I literally showed up to the office and gave the clippers to my assistant. And I said, it's time for you to chop off the hair. And she cut it off.
I just get the vibe that there's a throwback era. I don't know when that's coming, but that's coming through for me, for you. So, so at some point it's going to hit. All right. What's the biggest non-negotiable daily habit or routine for you? Like what's the biggest one that's like, it's kind of the linchpin for you?
Two things. I would say some sort of physical activity, right? Like, you know, walking, working out, something, right? Yeah. And then at least 45 minutes or an hour of reading or something really educational. I go more towards reading like 90% of the time. But I would say education, self-education, and physical prowess, physical movement, something every single day.
What do you think is the biggest thing misunderstood about you?
About me? I would say what people perceive me to be in regards to my personality. I'm loud and I'm boisterous, but I'm really a good person who wants to serve. And I think a lot of times, my loudness, my brashness, my rebelliousness makes people think maybe I'm an asshole when I'm really not.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you want to be most proud of a year from today?
The growth within the individuals in my organization.
Yeah, dude, that was a fucking fire answer. The growth within the individuals, where 9 times out of, or 99 times out of 100, that answer is like growth in the industry, growth, whatever. I want a bigger team. I love growth within the individuals. That's a badass answer, dude. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like it's shifted so much. I get a lot of satisfaction from it, seeing people grow. And I never thought I would until it started happening. I was like, man, this feels really good. And it's amazing to see the impact in people, or they learn something in a month that took me a year. I'm like, man, that's great. What a blessing.
It is. So Wayne and I just finished up a mastermind. I was just in Texas, and seeing the people that show up to our mastermind over a year transition and what they've put in just by having the encouragement. And they already had the knowledge. They're already hot type producers, but just helping them and encouraging them to take that scary step, and way they have changed in a year. There's nothing better. And it's probably because I'm getting older, right? Like I'm trying to find that legacy, like how I can help give back. And it is a rush that I have never experienced before. Never thought I would, actually.
Oh yeah.
Well, Bryan,
pretty crazy.
You're the fucking man, to be honest with you. I appreciate you doing this. I know you got 10,000 things to be doing right now, but taking time out to share the word, share how you're successful and how you weren't, is only going to help the industry. And I think that's part of what you're aiming at. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, I would just say, like, thank you for holding yourself to a high standard, seriously, because the trickle effect is pretty huge. So like, thank you for doing that. Obviously, you're not going to stop doing it. So keep kicking ass, taking names. Thank you for everything you're doing. Seriously.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Love you guys.
Yeah, much love, man.